that's why you need those.
The team.
Yeah. Because we pinch it. We know enough to be dangerous.
Right.
You know? And you need someone who, that's what they do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they would probably create some things that we never even thought of.
Yes,
you know what I mean? They'll probably come up with some different ideas. And that's what I was saying with Lemar, when he did that. I've never been involved in nothing like that. I've never seen nothing like that before. And then with Ethan and Jameson, I mean, getting the training and executing the training is one thing, but being able to articulate that, you know, in a way that is comprehensible and applicable, you know, is, you know, that's, and the things that they were saying.
Yeah.
And so that's a untapped potential. I don't know if Mr. Brumfield, I think she might have said untapped pews or something. Mm-hmm. That's where we supposed to be living at.
That's it.
You know, am I lying?
Yes, sir.
That's where we supposed to be living at.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are live.
We live.
Hey y'all out there, we were just chopping it up. Yeah. Minister Effort and I, my 29th year anniversary. Yeah. And so we've been chopping it up. Had some great chopping it up moments throughout these chopping up. So we're going to be chopping it up to the end of March, and then they are already trying to press me to chop up once a month or something, but we're going to see where that goes. But tonight we have Minister Efren with us and on Chopping It Up. Minister Efren, how many years have you been a member of Jericho?
You know what? My wife and I, we were trying to figure that out the other day. We know both boys was born here, so it has to be over 19.
Okay. And
we both were in college when we started attending. And we both went up at the same time to join the church.
Really?
And we got both baptized at the same time. I don't know if you remember that. That was 1999 at 12:01 in the morning. We was the first 2K baptized. Yeah. We got dipped, fried and dipped. Wow. When everybody else was running to go get extra waters and stuff like that. Yeah, we took the plunge.
Wow. Now that's powerful right there. What made you and your wife join at the same time? Is that something you all had pre-discussed and decided that, you know, that was going to be the move? Or
no, it wasn't. It wasn't scripted or nothing. It had to be the Holy Spirit, because I got up and started walking, and I don't even know. It was like she pushed me in the aisle or something.
Okay.
You know? I don't even know how I started walking.
Okay.
And I by the time I paid attention to it, I was in the middle. I'm like, well, okay. I started walking. Then I was standing. I think you asked everyone to come in front of the church and meet there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all had 2 chairs out or whatever, but I was standing there, and then I saw her come alongside me, and she was standing there. So then that's how I knew she had walked up with me.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
I had a similar experience when I went to church in Easter Sunday, 1979, and I was there in the church, and when the invitation was given, I found I remember myself at the altar. I don't remember how I got there, and I actually got baptized that same Sunday, and I don't remember. All I remember is I was at the altar and I was getting baptized, and I don't think it was. I'm sure it wasn't all in that same motion,
right?
But it was like something had, you know, drew me to there. So that's interesting.
Yes, sir.
So we talk about chopping it up.
Yeah.
Tonight, what are some things that you think about when you think about chopping it up with the doc?
I think about riding on a trip with you.
Okay. You know, we say riding on a trip because you drove me a lot of different places over the years, and I think this is the first year. And I know you can handle this, right?
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. This, I know where you're going.
Because it ain't no negative thing about it. This is the first year that I actually had somebody else take me to the airport and pick me up.
Yes, sir.
You know, you still do it in between those times, but when you talk about traveling, what in particular that when you say you think about the road trips?
So I'm thinking about when we travel to Detroit, something that's over 5-6 hours, where you engaged in that. In that ride, you know, that's not just a ride to Kenosha, you know, where you can read some or a text for 30 minutes on that one, but on the 8-hour trip, you you gotta talk. And the way you taught me how to travel was the driver. You got to stay up with the driver and converse with him. Yeah. So then various topics might pop up as we driving, where I see a sign or see a car that we ain't seen or something like that. Okay. So when you saying chopping it up with Pastor, it's like we in a vehicle right here. You know what I'm saying? We got, we got our, little station right here in the middle, and we on our way to Detroit.
Okay.
So that's what I see when you say chopping.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just looking at a post on Facebook as I was looking for our live, and it was of Juan. He's Pastor Apostle Caldwell's armor bearer.
Okay.
And so he drives Apostle Caldwell here to Milwaukee and I'm sure other places. And,
yes, sir.
And he had a post on there where he and Apostle Caldwell was riding in the car, and he made a similar comment about how much he's learned riding in the car with the man of God.
Yes,
and so that's kind of powerful.
Yeah.
I got in and I posted it to my page, and then you bring that up. So what are some of the things when you think about riding and conversating? What would you say some of the benefits that you've received?
A lot of the benefits, a lot of things we can even do physical. I think I remembered how to get my oil changed through a trip.
Okay.
I remember I learned how to treat my wife through a trip. I learned how to run business better through a trip.
All right.
So all of my things that I hold to me close now is from a trip.
Wow. I always say it's my audio university.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah.
And for me, more specifically, I listen to more instructional type of things when I'm writing than I do music. And so I listen to books, audio books, and different sermons or different things while I'm writing, and I've learned a lot. So that's my audio university.
Yes, sir.
So that's
yes,
the first
sir.
time I connected the fact that somebody else was in the university.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They was able to get something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know if I graduated yet. I don't think I have. I might be a sophomore or junior in there, but yes, sir. But yeah, that's what this chopping it up with Pastor.
All right.
That's the first thing I was thinking of when I was, told about it. I was like, oh yeah, let me see how I can. What are we gonna talk about on the road this time?
Okay.
All right. This trip.
Well. It's all on you. So there's no wrong. There's no wrong question. It's up to me to navigate the answer.
Yes, sir.
So if I feel like I have to, be careful with what I say because, you can say it and put it out there. You can't take it back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
other than that, you can just, don't go easy.
Yes, sir. So this was one of the. I know from time to time as we've traveled on them trips, we've talked about, and that's where brought me into my first question. What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie?
Yeah.
My favorite movie I would have to say is Robots.
Robots. Interesting. Why?
Yeah, Robots is an animated movie. It was about a little boy who, there were robots, and the little boy came from, his family wasn't wealthy, so they were kind of a misfit robot. They had different parts, used parts and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
And the guy, his name was Big Wheel. And he was always on the commercials, and he was telling the people how to be successful. If you want to be successful, find a need and meet a need. That's how you be successful.
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of my motto. Even though, as a pastor, I've always had challenges how to balance, going for, stuff versus, my responsibility and obligation to my call, trying to find that balance, because I don't want to be so busy, chasing money and stuff that I neglect the call, have the church on autopilot where I go and do that. So finding that balance right there has always been a challenge for me. But those instructions from Robots, you find a need and you meet the need. That's how you be successful. So even kingdom-wise, it's you find a need. Jesus had that model. When you looked at it, he would find a need, but he would meet the need.
Yes, sir. That's business.
Yeah.
That's supply and demand.
Yeah.
That's that. Now that you say that, that's probably used all over the place.
All right.
So if you need something, then you supply it, and that's how businesses grow and grow and grow, and they turn over their profit.
All right.
Okay. So if you had a chance to, as far as style of movie, what would be your favorite style of movie?
I'm definitely a James Bond man.
Okay.
James Bond, Mission Impossible.
Okay. Yeah. Tom Cruise.
I always go back to watching those. Those are my go-to movies. I like a lot of action. I'm an action guy.
Okay.
But a lot of your movies, if they got 2 or 3 words of cussing in it, then I'm not gonna, I'm gonna have to shut him down. And so you can't find a lot of movies that don't have that in it.
Yes, sir.
Now I can excuse a word that's natural, but a lot of them they be forcing it.
Yes, sir.
And I can't have I can't do F-bombs and stuff like that. And so James Bond, and I like gadgets.
Yes.
And so James Bond and the Mission Impossible, they got the gadgets. I like cars. They got the cars.
Nice cars, too.
And I like the creativity when it comes from, I try to figure out how they doing things, and I'm also oftentimes taken for a loop because, it'll come another way, and they'll be like, oh, man, look at that, and that was cold. Yeah. Matter of fact, Lady Burns just brought to my attention that in one of the Mission Impossibles, I was just watching it the other night, and I can't remember which one it is, but they had these vending machines where they had these cars where you went up there and they went up and they was parking them automated. And then she brought to my attention Carvana.
Oh, that's exactly what they do. Hey,
so before Carvana, because Apostle Caldwell said television is the vision of the world. Yeah. So then it came on television, and then Carvana, I was like, oh yeah. Or like Mr. Spark. They had iPads back then. They called them that. Right. But then now we, watches, detect a gadget.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So anyway, so Bond movies and Mission Impossible, by far. The Jack Reacher movies, I like those as well. Yes. But Bond and Mission Impossible, those would be my favorite.
Yeah, so you like enjoying those in surround sound?
Yes, now my lovely wife, hey, babe. She don't like the action as far as the violence and the different things in those movies, and so I can't really blow it up in surround sound.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But she go to the stove, then I blast that bad boy.
At themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's one of the things when we move into our new house, the boys, and that's the interesting, and we're going to get there later, but my boys was commenting on the house we're going to move. They was like, y'all going to have a movie room? Okay. And I need to hear the sound rumbling and surround sound. Yeah. So that's how I think that's the best way to watch a movie.
Yeah,
with that surround
most
sound.
Definitely. We had a few years back before COVID, we had begun to look to move, and then in my next house, I definitely was going to have a movie room, and the few of my friends houses that I've been in, they have movie rooms and they're insulated. And so they're soundproof. Yeah. So then you can go down, you can come out, you step outside of it, you can hardly hear it. Yeah. And when you open the door and go in there, it's like, whoa, man, it's like another world. So I said, in my next house,
yes, sir,
definitely gonna have a movie room.
Lady B was like, "What? You was in there? Were you praying?" She didn't hear none of the beats, did she? Yes, sir. All right, well, good. Now, getting ready to transition here a little bit, get in your business a little.
Okay, let's say hello to a few people. Let's see who's out there. Audrey, how you doing, Audrey? Minister Spohn is out there. Amen. Minister Brumfield, Paris. Hello, how you doing, my sister? Lady B is out there. Yeah. Let me see. Hey, yes. Minister Mark is out there. Deacon Boone.
Out there.
And
Newbie.
Marsha says, so who should be the new Bond? Okay, that's a good question.
Very
now,
good
when they
question.
told me, what's that guy name that was in Beast? He was, he's got a, I don't know if I don't think he's African, but. Ibris?
Iba, something like that.
Yeah, now I think he would make it.
Idris Elba, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think he would make a good Bond.
I think so.
Yeah, he got the
that
swag.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And he got actually got that accent already.
Yeah.
That's I
yeah.
think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, yep, that's the one, Marsha. Yeah, Elder Perry is out there. Yeah, what's up, Lady B? Yes.
Idris Elba.
He said no. Deacon Boone said he said no. They offered him the position, I guess.
Oh, wow.
And he said no. Oh, wow. Who wouldn't want to be a Bond man?
Man, sign me up.
Yeah. He's the black. And he's black. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So here we go. Being born into an athletic family, did you ever feel the pressures to become an athlete?
Oh, most definitely. Oh, most definitely. You couldn't be a Burns and not play ball or do some type of, athletic.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Leotis and Johnny, our uncles, they was on the front pages of newspapers.
Yes. Daily, huh?
Yeah, and they were bound for NBA, but then they didn't have some of the road, the guidance down that road like you have now, where a person will spot you and help you to get there, kind of thing. And then my uncle Kenny, he should have went pro. He was a very good basketball player, and people around us, because we was around the projects, without calling some of them guys' name, they were, all around us as well. And so
street legends.
Yeah, and so me being tall, it was just a natural for me to play basketball. And I kind of liked playing basketball, but I didn't love the game, but I liked it. And I played in high school and in college. I played, kind of because I was expected of me to play, and when in high school, I was, all of them went to Lincoln.
Yes.
And so then that was really where I was supposed to go. But I found out that Washington High School had built a brand new auto shop. And I always loved cars. Yeah. And that was a hard choice when I made the choice. And when I made it, they won't say it, but I think I had a few of my peoples, a little disappointed, in my choice that I made. Yeah. But yes, it's definitely pressure. It was definitely pressure.
And I think it was good that you actually broke the barrier, because I think you kind of changed the climate or the environment for the family. Okay. And a lot of our, younger cousins and things like that, they're making decisions to do other things, because as my boys grew up playing the game, or they were just playing everything, but there was people that say these are basketball boys right here. And I would be like, yep, that's where we came from, a basketball family. They can see it on them already. Yeah. And for them to now be playing football, at first I remember it was 8th grade, and we were playing in Indiana at this kind of like a state tournament. We were represented Wisconsin, and they had Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Iowa, and I remember one of the guys, they were just big. These guys had beards on. That's when we first learned about reclassification and what those things were in sports. But I remember my son telling me, so Dad, would you be mad at me if I didn't play football no more? Okay. And I remember telling him, no, son, this is your choice. And I think you saying you going to Washington for that shop, and I think Tech was the second school, Milwaukee Tech, that opened up one of them shops like that. Right. Now,
became like a Tech back school. Then they had a lot of technical things. They wasn't as known for the auto shop as they were for the other technical things that they had. Okay. But yeah, Tech was one. Okay. And that's good. I experienced also with my son, with Leon, because he being tall, And, I was pushing him towards basketball, and he played, and he was very good. He was playing for the Y at that time. I can't remember his age, but, they went down on the offense and they scored, and they was going back down the court on the defense, and he came down, ran down the court like he was going to set up a defense and beeline right to the bench and sit down in the middle of the game.
Okay.
So the coach started fussing at him, and so I had to come out the stand and go down there because I didn't know something wrong.
Yes, sir.
Say, son, what's wrong? And he said, Dad, I don't want to do this no more. And I said, okay, get your stuff, let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and,
sir.
He gravitated to track, and he was very good at track. So he was very athletic, whatever he put his mind to pretty much. And then he ended up with soccer.
Wow.
And so with my youngest son, Lemar, he stuck with basketball. And so, of course, he tried out a couple of times for professional teams.
Yes, sir.
And he played in college as well. But I think, the camps and things like what your son is doing, what your sons have done.
Yes.
Had I tapped into those things, I think I could have, helped them on their choice or whatever.
Yes. And I think those exposure camps, because that's what they are, they're exposure camps, is how they do it now. I think back on myself, if same kind of thing, if I would have had that guidance like Uncle Kenny we were talking about, because he was the first big guard. Okay. I don't know if you guys, he was a 6'4" guard, 6'5" guard. Back then, 6'5" was almost like the tallest person in the city. He was a center, a big man. You threw him in the post. But he had the same moves as a guard, and that's what attracted me to it. But later I found out my skill was baseball. Okay. I loved basketball because of my family and everybody we grew up doing it, and I was actually pretty good at it. But I didn't even have to train for baseball. I could just show up, and then everybody like wondering what happened. I'm like, I don't know how I did it.
Well, there was a few people, not calling no names, that really they definitely believed that you had the potential to go pro, and they really thought you was going to go pro. Yeah. And so I don't know if it was because you had an injury or something.
Yes, I dislocated my shoulder.
And so I don't know if that kind of curtailed that, but yeah.
And then towards the end, even those exposure, I was playing with I don't know if you know, I'm dating myself. I'm older. Larry Heisel was a brewer, and his son was on our. So I was playing with brewer's sons. Okay. And I was starting over them, so everyone knew that I was supposed to be the next one. But back then, technology wasn't what it is now. Like your son, when the Achilles and things like that, and they almost back the next week almost. Okay. So when I tore my rotator cuff, that's to them in baseball they call it Tommy John surgery. Okay. And when you have Tommy John surgery, it's over. Okay. So no one was there to ingenuitive. Is that I'm saying the word right? Enough to be like, okay, well let's test these doctors and see if we can get them. Because at that time my mom had started. I wasn't going to regular doctors. I was going to athletic orthopedic doctors. Okay. So they knew they dealt with sports injuries and things like that. So I was on the entry level of it. So if I would have been able to get exposed to that earlier, like a lot of these guys you see in the NBA tear a MCL, normally MCLs you're done. Okay. For basketball players, that's the Tommy John for baseball. And then football, I believe, I forgot, it's like dislocated hips. So that's the football injury that everybody is normally. Bo Jackson never made it. He was one of the most skilled players. He never made it back after that. But so yes, I that's where I remember being. They had that movie at the Brewers Stadium. I think it was Baseball 2000. Okay. They were filming here. Right, I remember that at the stadium, and I got selected. But I was working at Northwestern Mutual Life at that time, and I was like, they told me my shoulder ain't gonna make it, so I ain't gonna go.
All right, you missed your Denzel moment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see what they're seeing out here. We have Marsha saying Henry Claville, who played Superman, is on the short list. All right. D'Amica is out there. What's going on, D'Amica? he turned to soccer, and he was excellent. Yeah, that's Lady B.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Minister Mark is just cracking up
Laughing at us.
Yeah, you know. Let's see, Charlotte. Hey, Charlotte, how you doing? And Minister Pfeiffer's out there. She said after the ball hit me in the face, I walked out too. You know, Deacon Boone, he got one for you. He said, dating yourself. He said, I thought you were married.
Thanks, Zeke. I got you. I'm with you.
And
You got me on that one.
said, we were extra to
Extras
that
in
movie.
that movie.
There was extras in that movie.
In that
okay.
movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
A lot of people don't even know this. The Brewers manager right now, I hit the game-winning state home run off of him.
Really?
He was attending Whitefish Bay at that time. And Craig Counsell was his name.
Okay.
And I wound up giving your mom that baseball.
All right.
That I hit, because her, I want to say it was her junior, and maybe grandma. That was maybe one of grandma's last games she had came to see.
Okay.
We had went upstate. I think I was Beaver Dam we was at.
All right.
Yeah, Craig Counsell, baseball guy.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah.
All right, Pastor. Well, let's transition a little bit more. When you was a child, what did you dream of being as a child?
You know, I don't even know. Let me think.
Because I know you talk about your cars you had set up and you was driving. I was like, okay, let's see if he was trying to be a race car driver.
No, I never thought about being a race car driver. I used to have pictures of Rolls Royce on my ceiling and all in my room anywhere
Okay.
I could put them.
Yes, sir.
I would walk up to Uptown Lincoln Mercury. At that time, they used to sell Rolls Royces, and I would get brochures, and I would, get as many as I could, and I would go back and cut the pages out real neatly, and I would, have them all over the room. So I love cars, but I never thought that I would be a race car driver or even a car dealer or anything like that. My grandmother used to call me police, but I never really, my great-grandmother, but I never really had a desire for that. And then my other grandmother would call me preacher or something like that back then, but I didn't have a desire to preach. So I don't know. I don't think I grew up with a desire to be a certain thing.
Okay.
I think I was, one of them guys, that was unique.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's good. That's unique. That's very unique. Especially dealing with the pressures of the athleticism and all of our uncles were, because I remember walking down the street, you wanted them Burns boy. They could tell me I was a Burns boy before I even gave them my name.
Yeah.
Are you one of them Burns boys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who mama is you? Who daddy is you?
Right.
Type of situation.
And that happens to this day with me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Ethan took a bus to the museum the other day, and the bus driver was like, one of them Burns boys, ain't you? You look like Efren, though.
Okay.
And I was just, just to hear him, now it's going on to my kids now,
Right.
where they don't know who the person is, but the person know who they are.
Right. Right.
So yes, that's good, that's good.
Yeah.
So now we're going to slide a little, just get a little deeper into things. If you weren't a pastor,
Okay.
right now in 2023, what would you think your line of work would be?
Hindsight is 2020.
Uh-huh.
And knowing what I know now,
Yes, sir.
and
Yeah,
the
we could use
personality
that.
that I have,
Yes, sir.
that question was actually asked of me. I think either Mary, Lady Burns' sister, asked me that the Sunday after Lee Mar's birthday party, or it was Kawanya that asked me that. Somebody asked me that at the table.
Wow.
When we were at the table, and I said, first I said, I think I said it would be a sin for me to answer that question.
Yes, sir. That's good. He's politically correct in that one. That's a good answer.
That's who I am. But then I said, a motivational speaker.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I'll be a motivational speaker.
Yes.
And then somebody said they were the same, and I said, no, the salary in the private jets and the is different for the motivational speaker. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so even though there are, pastors who are at that level that they have those tools, to get around and do their assignment. Being a motivational speaker, I think, that's what I would do.
Yeah, that might be your second leg of the journey.
Yeah, I believe that.
That's the second part of the 8-hour drive we on right now.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Okay, I like that. As I think back, if I didn't go to school for engineering, what else would I be? I would be, and I think that's one of the things I was thinking of, someone that will motivate somebody.
Okay.
I've been kept finding myself, and I didn't know Kobe was this amazing to me. I thought Kobe, when I watched Kobe, I thought he was just a greedy player. And I watched his videos probably for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and just to hear him talk, because one of his goals was being the best basketball player that ever played. And he found himself trying for that goal, but it never could reach it. And then he kind of, like your book said, he reinvented himself. And he called it a kind of almost like a premonition or something like that. Okay. But I think it was the spirit. He said it was more powerful for me to leave an implant to someone else as legacy. I believe I've heard you say so. Leaving a legacy behind them will be better than being the best player in the NBA.
Okay.
And if you listen to that, watches or remember when this unfortunate ankle or Achilles injury happened. From that point forward, he couldn't really play on the level he could. But then he started having these secret camps with NBA players, these ones that are becoming like MVPs, like Giannis. Come to find out, he didn't say it then, but 2 years after, I think a year or two after Kobe had passed, Kobe had invited him to his place. And he stayed there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he was just, that's where that mama mentality came. He has a saying called, I don't know if you ever heard it, called the mama mentality. And I just thought it was a way of playing, and it was really a way of giving back. So I think that's really interesting.
I think that's what we're missing a lot nowadays more than ever. I think we're so competitive nowadays, and we don't have the self-security, is that what they call it? When we talk about, the self-image or the security where a person is insecure would be the opposite of it. I think we have so much of that we're afraid to share with one another.
Yes.
And so you'll see me struggling and you'll have the answer, but you won't share it with me. I remember going to someone who was doing something really well that I was struggling with, and I went to them and I asked them if they would mentor me and help me with that. And then they asked me a series of questions to try to find out if I understood what I was asking. And then the questions that I would ask, they said that's the right question. And then they said we'll talk, but it never happened. And so every time, I would get together with them for that purpose, there would never be an impartation. It was always be like they were afraid to give it to me.
Wow.
And I think in the body of Christ as well as the world now, you don't have those people who understand legacy or understand, multiplying themselves by, giving back and sharing.
Yes.
You can't take nothing from me.
Right.
By me giving you something.
Facts.
And the way that you're going to do it, I'm not doing it.
Yes.
And the level that you're going to do it on, I may not do it on that level, but I haven't lost anything.
Right.
But I've gained when I invest in you. And so Apostle Caldwell, he used to say it all the time about me. He said, man, you show Burns something, he going to go and multiply it. And because I was hungry. I wanted to be able to do it right. I go to Houston to sit up under Apostle Hilliard, because regardless of what people may say about him, he's brilliant.
Yes, sir.
And how he thinks and how he strategizes, and how he can make it so simple for you to grab it. And so, I'm trying to get it to come back and make it work for me.
Yes, sir.
But in our setting, a lot of times we sit on information or talents that we have that we could expand,
Yes.
through other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's pretty much like the core of discipleship as well, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, discipleship is a different impartation because discipleships deal with maturing believers. When you have Christians who on church on Sunday and they have this certain rapport, but then they cussing somebody out on Monday, or they treating the waitress bad on Tuesday, or they live in another kind of way opposite of what they portray on Sunday. On Friday, that's because to me, and there's always an exception of the rule. You don't have to, as the apostle will say, you don't have to write me no letters. But I think that's a sign of immaturity when it comes to as a believer. And that's what discipleship is about. It's about helping a person, a believer, to mature so that they can trust God, so that they can believe in the promises of God, so that they can be at a place where they know the power of their words, where they get to a place where they understand no weapons formed against them or prosper. We say all the Christian jargon, but we don't necessarily live that out,
Yes,
you
sir.
know. And so discipleship is that's why discipleship is important. When you look at the disciples with Jesus, when he first found them, Peter was cussing and cutting,
Right.
and the other ones, Thomas was doubting. And, but then when you read the Bible after Jesus, you see where they have matured.
Yes.
And even Paul talks about it comes a time when you should be on meat, but you're still on milk. And so that's what discipleship is supposed to be. But just like, if you want to be better, for me, I go down to Houston and I sit up under the apostle and I glean and I come back and put things, or I take courses or whatever. Or if you want to get stronger, you'll go to the gym and things like that. Nowadays believers is not really gravitating towards discipleship.
Yes.
And so as a result, we have a church that the world really needs right now, with all of the lawlessness going on, and the world really need us right now, but the average believer is not mature enough to be what God needs them to be for the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that just burns.
Yeah.
That just burns.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's really good. Because that's what we need now. That's what it seems like the world is screaming for, especially these young kids.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You see all of the lawlessness with the, and I was just talking, I think, to Minister Mark about that, developing our men's ministry to have a arm for, I know it's cliche, but for lack of a better name, boys to men.
Yes, sir.
Where we are actually not being churchy with them,
right,
but being able to tap into, like we was talking before we went on air, we was chopping it up about, I'm just still impressed with Ethan and Jameson when they, on the spur of the moment, calling them up in front of the congregation and they not falling apart nervously and being able to articulate the answers, and the answers be so powerful, and, tying it with the scripture being so impactful. Or Lemar, when he did his birthday EP things and put that on the screen and did the thing he did. We need to tap into that.
Yes, sir.
Because that's who we really supposed to be now. We still doing church the old way. We might have, upped our game with the music.
Right.
But we're still doing church the old way.
Right.
And we got all of that power and information in the pews.
Yes.
And that's really what we should be running off of. And that's really what discipleship should be.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We can almost see, looking back at Lemar's party, you doing that at Bible class. You sitting in the middle with your computer right here, and your headset, and you got your Bible in there, you breaking that word down, and then Lemar was pulling together the music, but then you say, well, let's slide over to Timothy, see what he said about that. And then you flip it, now you going through your different.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes,
now, believe it or not, my pastor always, and I said this with Tej when we were chopping it up. My pastor, Pastor Mixon, he always told me from the beginning I was before my time.
Okay.
And so I would do things, and he would tell me, church ain't ready for that. Church ain't ready for that. And in some ways I would get discouraged from, because he would ask me what I'm doing. He would call me Treetop. Treetop, what you up to? What you doing at the church? What's your vision? What's going on? And I'll be excited, and I tell him. And then when I get done, he said, "Church ain't ready for that." And so then I got to when he would ask me, I would just say something, but
Yes.
But it proved that he was right, though.
Most definitely.
When I was doing those things, and I said all that to say that the way Lemar did that thing with music, I did that with my ministers when I was training them, showing them how to use the Bible.
Yes, sir.
I would put it on the screen, and I would have, I would show them how to search scriptures and how to put it together. Yes, and they was overwhelmed by that.
Right.
To the degree that I stopped doing it because they just couldn't grasp it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Which I probably should have just stayed with it. But to see that it's the same cycle that's getting ready to happen again.
Yes, sir.
If we don't grasp that, just like I know, and Ms. Brumfield, ain't nobody talking to you, and Dr. Bonds and Area, they always try to get me to embrace technology.
Okay.
Now, I love technology. I love it in my car. I love it at home and stuff. But I'm an in-person guy.
Yes, sir.
We do the chopping up technology, virtual. It's all right, but it's my granddaddy said, no, that was O.C. White. You probably too young to know O.C. White. Back in the day, he said he had some chicken soup, and it tastes like the chicken walked through the soup with hip boots on. So it was chicken soup, but didn't have no chicken flavor.
Chicken flavor.
So when you're doing virtual, you don't seem like you got the flavor with it.
Yes, sir.
You got the thing, but not the flavor.
Yes, sir.
And I ain't coming for y'all now. I ain't coming for y'all. I'm just saying. But I do know that I have to embrace it because that is a way of life now.
Okay.
And that is the next wave. We're really behind the wave,
Right.
but that's the next wave. So finding a way to move the church into this virtual space, where we're embracing the hybrid and being able to, utilize it. For us, is developing an e-church that actually functions.
Right.
With an e-pastor.
Yeah.
And have, just like a regular church, because you got people, and like we do, we have faithful people that watch us every Sunday in different cities. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and they faithful every Sunday. We get tithes and offering from people, and they're not members of our church, but they're, we have members that left and went to other cities, but I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about, people. It's not unusual for me to say, I get a cash app from somebody, and I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah.
And I was asking the other day, is there any way I can send a thank you back to them? With cash app, you just send them a heart or a thumbs up.
Thumbs up or something,
but
yes.
to be able to send a message back to them.
Yes.
So I'm saying there's another level of world that's happening, and we keep insisting on, doing church in this box.
Yes.
Then we're, as a church, becoming like a chicken walking through soup with hip boots on, that we're sterile to our environment, So
Oxymoron almost kind of, ain't it?
Yeah. Very, very much so.
Here we called to be save the world, and we got on hip boots.
Yeah. We're
Not
afraid
putting
to
no
touch
flavor
them. We're afraid of people,
Yeah.
And that's not the world we live in now, And I'm not saying, just go out there and put yourself in a hostile environment. However, I can't be afraid to say hello to you because you got on tattoos.
Right.
Or because your hair, Marvin Gaye sung that, because your hair is long.
Okay.
In the City Blues, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think we are, we have the power in the answer, but we're acting as though we're afraid of what the other person has. I'm always amazed when I'm in the elevator, I'm out of town, the first thing I say, hey, where you from?
Yeah.
And they look at me and they don't be, they different colors or whatever. And then they tell me where they're from. And then, I'll say, yeah, we from Wisconsin. And most times, if it's somewhere where it's hot and we come from cold, they say, oh, yeah, it's cold out there. Then I said, what's your name? And by then the elevator door open. But just greeting. It's not unusual for me to greet people and they won't greet back. Hello, how you doing?
Yeah.
Or good morning. Right. And they just walk by like that's foreign. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how I got off topic or not.
But no, that's good. That's good. That's actually kind of where we were coming from. But now, as a pastor, you have so many hats you put on, so many things you do around here. There's a lot of ingenuity that you've placed, and you just told us how far you are usually ahead of times. Do you prefer, and this is kind of, I'm going to get you a curveball right here.
All right.
Do you prefer officiating weddings or funerals?
So I'll rephrase your question and say that my favorite duties
there we go.
as a pastor is baby dedications,
Okay.
weddings,
Okay.
and what was the other one you asked me?
Funerals.
Yeah, definitely baby dedications and weddings is my all-time favorite. I love because baby dedication, of course, is bringing life in.
Yes, sir. And
weddings are you beginning a new life.
Yeah.
I love those. And when I do one, you can kind of tell I'm passionate because I'm long.
Yeah.
And I'm saying something now.
Yes,
Just
sir.
long, just be long. And but funerals until I think like 25 years in, it started to weigh on me with funerals.
Okay.
25 years in, and then it becomes, kind of tougher and tougher a little bit.
Okay.
Funerals today is not the same as they were then.
Okay.
And so you have other components to funerals now that you got to gird up for.
Okay.
And so like during COVID, doing funerals back to back to back to back, and then being, you have to be masked up or you virtual. That took a toll on me.
Okay.
I was not the same after that. And then Pastor Pace, who's getting ready to retire.
What?
From
Okay.
Siloam Missionary Baptist Church in Kansas City.
Yes, sir.
We went down. He's
Marriage retreat.
Marriage
Yes,
retreat.
sir.
So he's retiring in June.
Wow.
And Lady Burns and I, we flew down to Kansas City to have lunch with him. They was on our mind, and we called him and said, hey, we just want to fly out and have lunch. So we flew down there, we had dinner with him. And one of the questions when I was chopping it up that I had with him is, how do you do funerals? Because I kind of lost my way a little bit with that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because before it was, people was open, and you can, and now you ain't got long. And Pastor Pace said, when I do a funeral, I tell them they all low down.
Okay.
And,
level the playing field.
Yeah, you low down. You need a savior. I think I had the L's. You low down, and you lost. And I can't think of you need a savior. And you have those 4 points, and I turned them into L's. I can't think of them now. I think it's low down, lost, and the love of God. He loves you, and then something.
Don't get left.
Yeah, don't get left. And so now when I do funerals, that's coming out some kind of way. And when I say that, it just changed the dynamic of the funeral.
Oh, wow.
Because people guard it when they come. They seem like they guard it.
Yeah.
I don't really want to hear the preacher. I'm here for respect.
Yes.
But when I start, I'll do my intro, and I said, now, just to be honest, we all low down, and then they they perk up when I say that. And then I walk them through that. I kind of put the 3 circles in there that, we're all broken and that God's got a design for our lives. And so when we, come back into relationship with him through repenting, we can recover, what we lost kind of thing. And so it's gave me a freshness of funerals, However, with funerals, it can be very disrespectful too. You know, the people, they'll walk while you're preaching.
Right.
Or, I've had people to tell me time was up and I just got up. It was like 5 minutes. I ain't, And so it's just a different world. And I think those are the byproducts of the thoroughness of the church, and that this generation that we're allowing to slip through our hands are not growing up now, and that they're not, they don't understand church like that. Matter of fact, I was talking to Minister Simone today, and I'm planning for our Easter, our Resurrection Sunday, and she did a workshop and said, Pastor, they said that you shouldn't use the term Resurrection Sunday. And I'm like, well, why? She said, because the people you're trying to reach, they don't know what Resurrection Sunday is. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that make a point. And so they know it as Easter Sunday.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And so when they searching to go to the church for Easter, they ain't looking for the church to go to Resurrection.
Yes, sir.
And I'm saying that to say that we've gotten into this church jargon, where we got our special terms that we're using, but they're not necessarily understanding.
Gotcha.
And so now we got this group that raised up that they don't know church jargon. And so, they be tripping at funerals, boy. But anyway, yeah, to answer your question, baby dedications and weddings are my favorite.
And that's interesting that you would say that, because I remember when Latrina and I got married, that her friends and my friends that weren't church, that they came from the college part of our lives, they was like, man, that pastor made that sermon. And I think a lot of them said that they actually wound up getting married eventually after that, once I saw them later down the line. Yeah. That those things, how you brought the ring and said the importance of the ring and how the man's, ring was thicker. They had never heard a wedding put together like that. Most of the time they come down there and I can't even remember what a person even really says at a wedding, other than, here we got your bride, your groom, and they're here to get married, and let's kiss and let's go. But you actually make it, it actually comes alive, and you can actually picture yourself.
First of all, any of those times are great opportunities for us to present the gospel. And so funerals are, great opportunities. So I'm not saying in no way that you asked me which one was my favorite. So I'm not saying I hate doing funerals.
Gotcha.
Funerals, and then when it's people close to you, because I've had, relatives that died back to back in a row, and that kind of did something to me as well. But the way I end up doing weddings were I would marry people the traditional way, but then I would spend so much time afterwards trying to keep them together.
Yes.
And so then I began to look at it like if I was going to counsel you, what would I tell you?
Okay.
And so when I do that marriage ceremony, that's where I'm going from. I want to give you the tools. That's why I tell you, look at your ring. When you feel like giving up, look at your ring. When you feel like giving you some tools so to be able to, last in the marriage. Because the first few years in the marriage is the roughest. But once you get through that, you begin to gel. You learn each other, whatever. Same thing with baby dedications. When I was born, my mother wasn't married, and I wasn't viewed as the right, whatever. I'm tiptoeing now around it, and so when I do baby dedications, whether it's a person who's married or not married, I look at myself.
Yes.
Because they didn't think I was going to amount to nothing. Right. Now here I am. So we don't have a right to look at a child because of a choice their parents made, whether good or bad, and determine the outcome of the future of that child.
Yes.
So when I do that baby dedication, I'm really speaking into the hearts of them parents and grandparents, really giving them permission to love that child.
Yes.
And regardless to how they came.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And so I'm saying things, I talk to the grandparent, and then I leave that letter for 18 years for their child to open,
Yes.
and they tell them by now if you don't know Christ, blah blah blah. So,
yeah.
so that's where that flow comes from. So it's a method to the madness.
Yeah. And that's interesting.
All right,
That's
let's see what's going on out there.
Okay.
I see. Let me back up a little bit. David Coleman is with us. Hey, David. Dave, my apologies. D'Amica said, hey, Pastor. Hey, D'Amica. And Elder Perry said, wow. Ms. Pfeiffer said, that's what I said too. A motivational speaker, not for me, but for you. Okay, so you talking about before or you talking about after I retire? Deacon Boone said, much needed. Paris said, definitely needed. Deacon Boone knew who I was talking about. O.C. White, yeah. The Soul Club.
The Soul Club.
Yeah. Minister Mark's there cracking up. Keep it real. He said, you all jokesters, low down, jokers, low down. I do that if it comes out, boy, and it fits. I'm like, okay, yeah, that works right there. And then your weddings are fire, Minister Pfeiffer said, and you have to lift weights for these new babies. Yeah. Yes. All right. Dave said hello again. Hey, Dave. So yes, so that's kind of where that flows from.
Good. So this leads us into my last question for you.
Okay.
If you could meet someone from the Bible face to face, who would it be and why?
Wow, man, that's a tough question right there. The right answer would be Jesus.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That would be the right answer.
Yes.
Because who wouldn't want to meet Jesus if you just had one person to meet?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to meet Jesus when I go to
yes,
heaven.
sir. There we go.
So he's going to, that's going to be, that's coming.
Yeah.
I would say for me, it would really be Paul.
Paul.
You know,
why you say Paul?
My favorite scripture is Philippians 3:10, that I might know him in the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his suffering. That's been my favorite scripture since Bible school. And Paul wrote that.
Yeah.
And when I look at Paul's life, not to say I'm on any level with Paul, and the intensity, yeah, that word there, of his life cannot be compared to my life. With that being said,
yes, sir.
On a lower level, I feel like I experienced things like he experienced things. Okay. He had the thorn in the flesh.
Yes.
You know, now, even though we don't know what that was,
right.
You know, it seemed we kind of conclude that it was some type of ailment. Some said it was his sight, you know, but we really don't know. He was an outcast, you know, from, you know, the people of that day. They didn't really accept him, mainly because they knew his background as Saul,
right? And
they just couldn't believe that he could never change. You know what I mean? And then I think the most one is his endurance. You know,
yes, sir.
He would go, like when you read Philippians, he says, nobody came to my aid, and Epaphroditus brought him a blanket or, you know, something, because in that days in prisons, it wasn't heated and air conditioned. They were dungeons, and they were cold and probably had rats in it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think about his endurance. You know, it talked about him being beaten or kicked out of places, and he would go back and he would continue on his journey. So, you know, he had that endurance.
Yes, sir.
And for me, you know, my thorn in the flesh, I would say, is my back.
Yeah.
You know,
yes,
it does what they want to do when they want to do it. And I've been healed from it. And then I overworked myself, and you know, so I can't say the healing is gone. I just keep, you know, doing too much. Going back to what you said about wearing all of them hats, that is not the will of God.
Right.
And I wish I would have knew what I know now. Now I understand that as a pastor, I need to be an administrator, which empower other people.
Yes.
But I've been a doer all my life, and so that's why I have all these many hats, because I'm a doer. So I'm gonna get it done. So if somebody ain't available, or if I don't have the money,
yes,
it ain't gonna be the answer.
Yes.
It ain't gonna be no. I remember Bishop Hilliard, Apostle Hilliard, one of the conferences years ago gave us a rock, gave everybody a rock, and he said. The rock stood for use what you had. That David, he fought Goliath. He didn't have a machine gun. He didn't have an army behind him.
Yes.
All he had was a rock.
Yes.
Even though the Bible says he took these stones, he only threw one.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So I'm saying that, being able to, in some ways reinvent myself as a pastor. Being an administrator means that you got to have a lot of patience,
Yes.
And I see it. I can almost touch it, and so when I can't get people to see it, I ain't articulating it right or whatever. Then I go do it and see. Then you can see it, but then I just get a cheerleading section and say, man, Pastor, you did it, but not necessarily catch the vision to be able to sustain it.
Right.
So
yes.
I got off course on that one.
No, that was good.
I thought about the many hats that you said.
Sir.
Now, going back to the question with Paul, I believe that the thorn in the flesh for me is my back. And, I love God, and I believe he's called me to this work. And, I want to make him proud. I want to be able to hear well done, And
yes,
so enduring, because you go through a lot. You have many reasons to quit. Many opportunities to throw in the towel or to give up. However, when I read Paul wrote many of the books in the Bible in the New Testament, and through there, that's where you get your no weapons formed, and press towards the mark of the high calling, and all of those things help me to keep pressing when I don't understand, keep pressing when I don't have it, keep pressing when I don't feel like it, keep pressing when I've been betrayed, keep pressing and keep, the Bible says you have to lock on like a flint, and so that would be who I want to see.
Good. Yes, sir, I like that. For me, it was David. I was like thinking to myself, like, okay, David, what made the person in the Bible write you were a man of God's own heart?
Yeah, and that's very powerful text, because we see recorded in Scripture many mistakes that David made. And so that helped me understand the whole sin love thing. As a parent, I had challenges as my boys grew up. And as when they was young children, I would try to, it was my job to help them define their parameters,
yes, sir.
And their boundaries.
Yes.
And boys do that. They push against the boundaries, And then when they grew up, they began to make their own choices. And their choices was not necessarily choices that I would have made or wanted them to make.
Yes, sir.
And so I found I couldn't just go to them and preach at them no more, or just say, do this because I said do this. And then I almost made the mistake of taking on their mistakes as my own. And I talked with a pastor, Pastor Melva Henderson, here in Milwaukee, and she said this to me. She said, it's God's job to deal with the sin. It's your job to love them. And that freed me up.
Wow, that's good.
And when I think about David and he being a man after God's heart, I see that same thing.
Yeah.
His sin was separate from the love that he had.
Yes.
Even though he made mistakes and stuff, it didn't diminish his love.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? As my boys, I made mistakes too, so I'm not saying I'm perfect. The choices that they made, whether I agreed with them or not, it didn't qualify or disqualify their love for me.
Yes.
And neither should my love be qualified by what choices they make.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's a great picture of God and how he sees us. One of the biggest things I think keep people from maturing in Christ is that they are so in touch with their mistakes.
Wow.
The Bible says that he remembers them no more.
Right.
He said if you confess them, he'll clean you up.
Yeah.
You know, so God moves on to the next page.
Yes.
And then when the Bible says every morning there's a new mercy,
Yeah.
so if you mess up when you wake up, there you got another chance.
Yes.
But for people, we're so hard on ourselves when we make bad choices, and to the degree that we can't move past them, and it hinders us from living our best life. You know, because it's almost like a weight on us.
Yes.
You know, so with David, I believe that was an ideal relationship. You know, he was a worshiper.
Yeah.
You know, so in Scripture,
Psalms.
even when he was in the cave hiding from his son, you know, in Scripture, he kept a connection with God, good or bad.
Yeah.
And God wants that more than anything. And as a parent, I'm the same way.
Yes.
I would hate for my son to be out there and in trouble or something and not reach out to me because, you know.
No connection.
No connection. Or he think I'm going to be judgmental or whatever. And so as a result, you know, he out there and then he drifts on up into the worst situation.
Yes, sir.
And so David, in spite of whatever he messed up, he tell God, hey, I messed up.
Yes.
You know, he tell God and he worship God. And I don't believe the average person is like Christian is that way. I think the average Christian only call on God through prayer when they're in trouble. But then afterwards, you know, and we see it with my grandbaby just told me about the story she learned in school about the 10 leopards.
Okay.
And how Jesus healed 10, but only one came back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a representation of the average Christian is that they want the healing, they want the promises, they want the prosperity, they want the position, they want what God has to offer, but when they get it, you know, you don't see them no more or whatever. And so I think David was a man after God's own heart, because he stayed before God, wrong or right, good days or bad days. When he came back from war, and the enemy had came in and took all of the women and the kids, and the ones that was with war, they started crying so loud, and they were so in grieving that the Bible said they wanted to stone David. And David had nobody to turn to. And the Bible said David encouraged himself. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, when you talk about a man after God's heart, I mean, that's trusting God that even though I'm preaching now.
Come on now.
That's trusting God even though you got all of this stuff you're facing, you never discount God. You never believe God ain't with you. You never, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so when a person probably would have ran in the head, or when they would fell, you know, throw in the towel, they like, I was out fighting for you. You know, now they come back and they gonna do me like this. I'm out of here. Now, David encouraged himself.
Yes, sir.
So I think, you know, when you put all of those pieces together of David, that's what made him.
Yes. Now, do you believe, and this might be a little Burnsology, that all those times that he still was worshiping and thinking and praying cultivated him for that great day and that greatness that he went on to do after that, throwing the stone and you know, and all of those things?
It was, when you look at how he was chose, he had the lowliest job. He out there stinking with the sheep, shoveling sheep dung, and you know, out there with the sheep. His brothers was built, and, you know, they was good looking or whatever. And his own daddy didn't even bring David out. When the man of God said, one of your sons is God has called one of your sons to be king. his own daddy didn't bring him out.
Yeah.
He brought out all the, his fine best.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then when he saw him, he said that was it. And nowhere did David, he loved God. When the way he ended up with Goliath, he was just out to bring his brothers to lunch. And then he heard Goliath talking bad to God. He said, "Who is this N-word?" No.
You can imagine it, though. I'm with you, Doc.
He said, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine talking about my God like that?" Yeah. He was insulted. He didn't care how big he was.
Right.
You talking about my God?
Right.
Oh, and he came for him. Yeah. So he was his love for God. Yeah. He always had that love for God all the way up. Mm-hmm. He had that love for God. And when you think about the 23rd Psalms, when he says, walking through the valley of shadow of death and feeling no evil and leading by the side of still water, when you look at that, it gives you this picture of a shepherd and a sheep. Mm-hmm. And they say that when a shepherd is training the sheep, that the shepherd is walking along and the sheep veers off, and the shepherd have to go get the sheep. Mm-hmm. And after doing that several times, the shepherd will break the legs of the sheep. Mm. And that sounds real cruel, that you would break the legs of the sheep. Mm-hmm. But in that, the shepherd now had to carry the sheep everywhere. He had to carry them to the water. He had to carry them back to the sheep gate at night. He had to carry him out to graze. Yeah. Everywhere he went, he had to carry him. And then once the sheep healed, he never left the side of the shepherd. Yeah. Not because he feared that the shepherd was going to break his leg. It's because he learned that everything he needed, the shepherd had it. Yes, sir. And I think David shows that as well. Mm-hmm. Coming up all through, as a little boy, he learned that everything that he needed, God had. That God was everything he said he'd be and never leave. You know what I'm saying? Never. He keeps his promises. He never forsake you. And all of that, to the degree that, it was like the disciples said in, I think, John 6 and 66, when Jesus said a hard saying, and then many of the disciples, they left Jesus, mm-hmm. And then Jesus turned to his 12 and said, "Are you going to go too?" Yeah. And then one of them said, "Where are we going to go?" Right. You alone have everything. And I think David understood that. Yeah. That there was nowhere that he can go on his own and have the success or protection or whatever, that everything that he needed, God had right there. Yes, sir. And I mean, you think about that now. That's a proud papa moment. Man, that's it, ain't it? That's, if there's anyone. Yeah. Yes, sir. So he so yeah. Yes, sir. Well, Pastor, we've reached our stop. Let me turn the signal light on so we can get off on this exit. Well, I appreciate you having me with Chopping It Up with Dr. A.D. Burns. All right. Let's see what the closing comments out there. Let's see what they're talking about. Ms. Pfeiffer, I said that already. She said I was going to have to lift weights for the new babies. And I thought about that with Audrey. She got twins. Woo! And so, I'm like, okay, thank you, I'm going to have to get it together. I don't know if you guys heard, it was a 20-pound baby born the other day. I was like, that obviously was a cesarean, or what do you? Oh, C-section, yes. Most definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, 20 sir. 20 pounds? 20 pounds. Was born almost walking. Oh, wow. That's a big old baby. But anyway, yes, sir. Ms. Pfeiffer said she want to meet him, but not right now. Yeah, he show up today, boy. You making holding back door. Charles Braden, what's going on, my brother? Yes, sir. Minister Simone said, that's so good. It's my job to love them, and it's God's job to deal with their sin. Oh, yeah. That was it. That freed me. That was it. That freed me right there. Yeah. Because it was hard being a pastor and just I had people leave the church after my grandbabies was born. And I had, people that, throw rocks at me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They accused me of having a double standard. Mm-hmm. That because it was my family, my boys. But I've never dogged anybody out in the 29 years that had babies that wasn't married. Mm-hmm. I've never dogged them out I've always, if they wanted me to bless them, I would bless them. I would always ask, when you gonna let me bless that child?
Yes.
You know, and so, but I was accused of having double standards.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So with that, but that changed my perspective.
Most definitely.
You know,
Yes.
and that I understood.
And that was good for me because that's, with teenage boys headed that way, that'll give me fuel to understand. That's my lane. Because I remember when my first son went to college, I told him, I said, you're going to have to help me grow from a telling you, Dad, to a helping you, Dad, listening, and things like that. And he kind of was, kind of threw him for a second. But then that next day he was like, okay, Dad, I see what you were saying. Because that's a challenge for us dads that, would do anything for our boys. And I know if we had some more time, that's where I was going to go with this thing.
Well, the whole idea, what helped me was, me, yelling at or, talking to my sons, like you go, whatever. At some point, that wasn't working.
Yes, sir.
And so my love for them was so great that I couldn't leave it that way.
Yeah.
So then one time I sit down with, it was Leon. I sit down with him and just pretty much point blank ask him. I can't remember what I asked him. What's going on with you? Why you keep doing whatever? And then when he began to talk to me, it was like Jameson and Ethan up there on the stage. That was my first wake up call. I was like, this guy is smart.
Yeah,
he understands that in what he's doing. He didn't necessarily do whatever it is if it wasn't right or whatever, with that intent. But the fact that he was able to articulate. And I began to realize that they smart.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And so then instead of telling them a lot of times, I just have to ask the right question.
Right.
And I'm amazed when I listen to him. And later on, Lemar, the same way. And it's a joy talking to either one of them now.
Yeah.
Because I'm just on the inside. I'm just bubbling over.
Yes,
sometimes want to break out crying. It's like, man, you got it right. You got it right. And so, that day will come. Right now you can. I don't know where you are in your stages, but you can tell them what to do. But at some point, you're gonna have to trust that you've imparted in them.
Yes, sir.
Everything that you knew to do, and you're gonna have to. That's what the old folk used to say. Senior saints used to say, they off your knee and on your heart.
Yes, sir.
They're growing up and look, you bounce them on your knee, but then they get to be teenagers or older now.
Bouncing them on your heart.
On your heart. You're concerned about them, where they are. You may want to know they're okay and things of that sort.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that, we allow that relationship to, to mature and develop.
Yes.
And you'll be amazed, And they, I thought about, I was chopping it up with Deacon Brown, and I thought about how when I first became pastor, he would tell me certain things wouldn't work when I would bring him an idea. He said, no, I wouldn't do that. I would ask him his opinion. He said, I wouldn't do that. And I said, okay, Deacon, then I'm going to do it. I think it will work. And he said, okay. And I would do it, and it would work. And I've had moments like that, where he would say, I would ask him his opinion, he'll tell me, and then I would like, that'll work, Deke. And then I'll do it, and it wouldn't work. Okay. But no time can I say that he ever rolled me under the bus. When I had to stand before the church and say it didn't work, or I messed up something, or I used the money and we bought this and it didn't work, or whatever. He would never roll me on the bus. Say, I tried to tell that hard-headed fella something, but he think he know everything.
Yeah.
He always stood with me, and he always came after I admitted my, defeat, sort of say, he always came up with a solution, and then we was able to make it right.
Yeah.
And I think as a parent, that's how we do. We have to be at a place where at some point they'll come to the conclusion, and then we can help them make it right. But we won't be able to guard them from every mistake and every element in the world.
Yes.
And there may be some elements or some things they have to go through, and be hurt by it, relationships or whatever. But you're not going to be able to, shield them from that.
Yeah, I think one time I heard you say deny them their process.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important because you use that process to get to where you are.
Yes, sir.
And then now you're going to deny them that same process to come to their conclusion.
Yeah.
And I think as we watch that thing and we roll with them, it changes your relationship with them,
right?
And it makes something it's greater. It's just it's at a different place.
Yes.
One of the things this past February, it was for some reason I was really, we go on vacation every year, and with the boys and Lady Burns and I, and this February, just looking at the way that they, navigated, where you didn't have to watch, where you at or whatever. Yeah. It was really a special moment for me.
You like.
Yeah. So you have to. If you don't, you'll deny yourself of that.
Yes.
Because the opposite of it is rebellion, and so you deny yourself of that process. All right, I don't. I always lose time when we out here, and I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna get us a clock. But let's see what we got it then. Unless you got something else, we'll break it on in.
Yes.
So. D'Amica, Minister Pfeiffer, and elders, they got some yeses out there. Elders saying, preach, go ahead. It's offering time, Minister Pfeiffer said. I guess that was the Message Bible when David said that. Yeah, that was the Message Bible, Doc. That's the Burns Bible. Where you at, Sharon Austin? I got a dictionary going, and I'm going to have to start doing my own interpretation right there. That was Charles Braden. He put some hands up. My son are young men. So I don't know if Lady Burns is crying or throwing kisses. Yes. Well, I believe that we're out of time. You got any closing things that you?
Nothing, Pastor. Other than I really appreciate this time. I think this is. I see why they are kind of elbowing you to do this once a month, man, because this is a good, those early questions I had never asked.
Okay.
And we family, so to know those things and know why and to kind of see that, as I was thinking of one of them questions, I was like, man, and he never did. And I remember being at one of the schools that you were working at, and you came through there, you was doing your thing, working, doing your thing, and we had the opportunity. You opened it up for your little cousins and stuff to come play some ball.
All right.
And, the ball rolled over to you, came over there, got it, and came over there and windmilled and dunked up. Here I am, I'm working out every day, I'm in the gym doing all this stuff, and you just picked it up and went and did what I was trying to do. So I was like, oh, man, when he made this decision, it wasn't, some people, the decision is easy because they scrubs, I don't know what the other word to say,
right.
But you actually had talent,
okay,
and to make that decision to go to Washington because of that, then that was, so when I said that earlier, that really was, that was, okay, that unfolded all of this, now we got musicians in the family, and, my boys, soon as I was coming home this weekend, and I'm going to tell you exactly what he's going to do when he put his bag on that floor. He gonna go in there and get on that piano for at least 4-5 hours.
Okay.
And you can just tell. And that's why I make sure he get to come home. Because it's like he out there, and he, he gurting and he trying to, hold it in to get to the house. And like David, you hear that music, boy, he let that music soothe him, and then you could just tell. And I was like, okay, you were the person that kind of unfolded all of that and allowed, not that, that constricted road to success be the way for everyone. And you got singers and you got TJ that can blow. You got a lot of people that can do a lot of things. And I think
now, the singing and the musician. I don't know how far it goes back, but I know Granddad.
Oh, that boy could blow,
was a professional singer.
Yeah.
And he dabbled around with the guitar. Now, I don't know.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, he dabbled around with the guitar. And so I think that's where the music skills is coming from.
So they were there. That's good.
Yeah. Now, with my boys, I believe it was Lady Burns who, during the pregnancy, Lady Burns always listened to music, since I've known her.
Yeah.
And so she listened to music all the time. And during the pregnancy, she, jamming that music all the time.
Yes.
Because they literally came out playing.
Yeah. And I think I learned this, I learned this when Latrina was pregnant, because that's what she did as well. Mm-hmm. And she played music even when she was giving birth to Efren. She made sure we had that harmonic violin type music, because it's supposed to stimulate parts of the brains and things like that. So that's intriguing to know that and to see how it's blossoming now.
Right.
For him to come home and he in there, Latrina be like, I'm trying to go. Like, you gotta let him. That's now when we, at the next house, when we get the man cave, he can just go down there, have a jam sessions like Lee Martin Lee, like you did at your house. Y'all go downstairs and do that. So that's I didn't know that about Granddad. Now I remember seeing the aunties and the uncles on certain days harmonizing, singing, and they could blow. I didn't know that.
I don't know who. I know your mom used to sing.
Yes.
Opal, of course, was a very good singer. All of them was very good singers that sing.
Yeah.
Fred, he's a singer. Kenny,
Lynn,
and Lynn,
yes.
And so it was in there, What did it
You had to break that. You had to do you had to put the stone down in the staff, and so you parted the ways for it. By going to Washington, you didn't go to Lincoln or North or any of them other basketball. You went to Washington.
All right. Well, listen. Thank you all for tuning in. I see Mr. Simone said, "Good evening, Pastor Mr. Ethan." I think that's our cue card, and or is it flipping around? Or did I go to the top? Oh, I went to the top. I'm going the wrong way. Oh, look at stop it. Latrina don't even like music. And it's that Mr. E. You need to talk more
to your family. They might say I talk too much. If you ask them. The last one by Lady B.
Yeah. He trying to get in on my groove. He need to get his own YouTube. No. They're commenting on YouTube. Oh, okay. My bad. He said, "Don't forget them on YouTube." Oh, we broadcast it on YouTube and Facebook. I am so apologetic.
Yes, welcome.
All of those of you out there in YouTube, I pray you've been blessed by this chopping it up. And I have to figure that out. Do I need to have two devices up here? Yeah, we'll figure that out. But listen, I do apologize. We pray that you were still impacted by the chopping up and your life is the better. We're going to get ready to leave out of here. And we thank you again. My 29th year anniversary. Woo! Chopping it up with Minister Efren this evening, or Minister E.
Yeah.
And I look forward to Thursday. I don't know who's going to be on for Thursday, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. chopping it up. Well, listen, we're going to get out of here. And so I want you to always remember that when you function in faith, you'll flourish. And if you want better, you got to do your best. So have a good one. Be blessed. We outie. Peace.
Peace.